What is up, guys? In today's video, I'm going to be going over which NPCs I think are the most helpful in Fortnite's new Simpsons season. As always, if you guys do enjoy this video, find it helpful, informative, or interesting, remember to give it a like, subscribe if you like to see more, comment down below which NPC is your favorite this season, and if you guys would like to use my code in the shop when getting anything, it is Evolve Jake, just like my channel name is, and it is underneath the webcam at all times. So there are several NPCs on the Simpsons map, like it's pretty densely populated with NPC characters. But most of the NPCs don't actually really do much this season. Typically, the most useful NPCs on the map are the hired specialist NPCs. And then there's usually others that sell like high value items like shockwaves or high rarity weapons. But we don't really have that this season. This season, pretty much all the NPCs that aren't actually specialists just all sell patch up and rift service. And patch up will heal your white health, and then rift service will open up a rift for you. And both of these can be somewhat helpful situationally, especially because of how like third party centric this season is. Like if you're about to get third partied and then you're able to activate the rift and escape that, then like sure, that's going to help you out and it's going to be like really high value in that situation. But it's not like something you're landing on or actively playing for or actively like going for during the course of the game like we have seen. So pretty much the only like really high value NPCs, or the ones that are worth talking about, I think, are going to be the specialist NPCs. And each of these can be hired for 600 gold, which may sound like a lot, but there really isn't that much to spend gold on this season. So like most people probably have several thousand by this point. And we have the traditional 4 specialists: supply, scout, medic, and heavy. And the supply specialist is the one that I think is going to be the most helpful this season. This is going to be Comet, and she is at this gas station south of the power plant. And what the supply NPCs do is they resupply you with ammo or supplies depending on what you have out when it is time for them to resupply you. And so typically they'll just give you ammo because you're holding your weapons out when it comes time for them to resupply you. But if you're holding out things like shockwaves or porta bunkers, they can actually give you those items as well. But as I said, you need to have it out at the right time. So a lot of times if you want shockwaves from this NPC, you'll just kind of be like sitting there with your shockwaves out waiting for the bot to give you them. But when the bot does give you shockwaves, it'll drop in stacks of 3. And this is incredible because 6 is a max stack. So 2 resupplies from a bot and you're basically full. And shockwaves are the main mobility item we have this season, and they're often a struggle for a lot of players to get. And the way shockwaves work is, you use it and then you need to find more in order to continue using them if you run out. And again, with how third party centric this season is, being able to just use your shockwaves and not worry too much about like wasting it or getting the most value out of it, I think is really helpful. These supply specialists are always good, but I think this season in particular, it's one of the best. So having this give you shockwaves, I think is the most important use of it. But there's also a lot of players that like using bunkers this season. And it's like the same way there too, where like you can use your bunkers more loosely or more freely because you could just get them on cooldown essentially. I believe it takes like 30 or 45 seconds for the bot to resupply you. So there is a decent amount of time in between resupplies. But assuming you do have shockwaves in your inventory, you can get more. There is a bug where sometimes the bot will just give you nothing when it goes time to resupply you. Like it'll do the animation like it's trying to drop something, but it just does nothing instead, which it's really unfortunate when that happens. But still, even with that bug being present, you can get, dozens of shockwaves throughout the course of the game from this AI. And in team game modes, being able to like keep the entire team full stacked on shockwaves like that, or at least stocked up, is definitely going to be a point of value. So I think Comet in the supply specialist is just the best one by far this season. The second best one, in my opinion, is going to be the scout specialist. This is going to be Fate, and she is at this small building east of Cletus Crops. The scout specialist will periodically scan the area and mark enemy players and mark chests and stuff in the area. I don't really care too much about the bot marking chests, but the main thing is to find enemy players. And if you guys have played a lot this season, I'm sure you've been in games where it just like really slows down towards the mid to late game, and having this scanner bot in those situations is really helpful. We've have bushes this season that are incredibly powerful, and if you have anybody hiding in a bush when the bot scans them, you're going to be able to easily, get damage on that player, force them out of the bush, and probably get an easy elimination on somebody who wasn't really ready to be scanned. You have any sort of an end game ending in a city area, being able to scan all the buildings around you and just know if there's anybody lurking nearby is really helpful, because this season pacing wise is really interesting. It starts out incredibly fast paced typically at the start of the game, and then like the mid to late game can be incredibly slow, and again just very third party centric. So finding the people hiding or being prepared for like upcoming third parties because of this bot, I think is really good and really high value, and it's something that can definitely save your life in a lot of situations or just make it much easier to play the game. The final two specialists are really not that great in my opinion. It's going to be the medic and the heavy specialist. The medic specialist is Sizzle Sergeant, and she's at the Durburger at Corruption Corners. And what this bot will do is periodically splash you and heal you. In the past, these NPCs would splash you twice, and then the cooldown would happen, and then they would splash you twice again. So it's like each time they went to heal you, they would heal you for 40, essentially, which isn't an absurd amount, but it's a lot better than how it is now, because at some point, Fortnite made it to where they only splash once. So periodically, this NPC heals you for 20, and I'm sure there's times where that can be really helpful, but it doesn't feel as good as it healing for 40. And I thought this NPC would actually be really good this season because, as I've already said, third parties are very prevalent this season. And so there's a lot of times where you might get done with a fight, start healing, and then you're getting pressured pretty quickly. And being able to like drink a big pot or a chug jug or whatever while this bot is actively splashing you, you can heal up really quick doing that. Like if I was drinking a big while the bot was splashing me, that's 90 shield there with the old model. But now, since the bot only splashes once, it's just 20. So it just doesn't feel as good. It's not like this bot will hurt you. Like the 20 shield it gives you or the 20 health it gives you doesn't hurt, but it also doesn't really feel that great. So I wish they would kind of buff the medic specialist back to being 40. I think that would make a lot more sense, but it only healing 20 periodically really don't think is that good. And I had high hopes for it this season. The final one is going to be the heavy specialist. This is Raptor at the Springfield Slurp Works. And what the heavy specialist will do is periodically throw grenades. And this is really not that helpful most of the time. Oftentimes when I had this NPC, if I was like kind of chilling outside my car trying to use it as cover, he would just end up grenading my car and end up breaking my tires or just making things more inconvenient for me than I needed them to be. So yeah, I just never thought that highly of the heavy specialist, and this season in particular, every time I had him, I was just kind of wishing I didn't have him. There is the potential downside in general with NPCs that like maybe they give your location away, and this is something that can cost you in some situations, especially with how slow the mid to late game is. And so having a bot like the heavy that just doesn't actively help me that much and maybe creates that downside is not something I'm really a fan of, and I will not be hiring the specialist outside of making this video. And then honestly, same goes with the healing specialist to me. I don't think I would actively be getting that one, but I definitely could see myself actively getting the scanner specialist or the supply specialist, as I touched on. I think both of those are quite good and justify the potential downside of giving your location away. There's also the potential benefit that these NPCs aid in fights where they like shoot at enemies and, you know, get damage for you. I feel like that's rarely the case. The hired NPCs have been around in Fortnite for a while, and there's definitely times where like they can get a beam on somebody or really like win you a fight, but like more often than not, I don't expect much out of these NPCs when it comes to combat. And if I'm fighting a player that has a hired NPC, I typically just full on ignore the NPC and eliminate the player, and then the NPC is gone. I believe in team game modes, you can have the NPC revive people and revive them a bit quicker because of that, and so that's helpful. But for the most part, I really only consider the effects these specialists do when it comes to like judging whether or not they're worth it. So I think the supply and the scout are good. The others, not so much. But that is going to be it for this video. As always, if you guys did find this to be helpful, informative, or interesting, remember to give it a like, subscribe if you'd like to see more, comment down below which NPC this season is your favorite, and I will see you guys in the next one. Thanks for watching.